we talk about universal health care, then it must go hand in hand with funding.
It was so traumatizing. It was super chaotic.
That was an accident.
What a coincidence that you actually went for the man in question.
This tear gas must have been fired directly into this crowd and at a distance that is not safe.
They might break our skulls like they cracked the AC skull, but they won't break our spirit.
يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم تنزيله ni wanadamu ambao ni viumbe vya Mwenyezi Mungu peke yake. Sasa Qur'ani yatuongezea matakwa ya Mwenyezi Mungu kwa wanadamu. Hatuna mtume yoyote tuliyemtuma kabla yako Muhammad. Mwenyezi Mungu huweza kumsaidia mtume kwa kumpa miujiza. Kazi yake huyu binadamu atamlipa Mungu kitu gani?
Njema, mchezo mpya kushinda hela umewasili. Tazama utuzwe ni mchezo rahisi na njia haraka ya kushinda hela ukitumia simu yako. Kuwa mmoja wa mamia ya washindi kila siku. Jishindie kuanzia shilingi 20,000. Ni rahisi. Deposit kuanzia shilingi 20 hadi 99 kwa paybill number 145656. Account number KTN2. Shinda sasa hivi. Draws na washindi kila hour. Kumbuka, deposit kuanzia 20 bob hadi 99 bob kwa paybill number 145656. Account number KTN2. Na unaweza kujishindia hadi 1,300.
Western Kenya is one of those regions contending with the devastating effects of climate change. Deforestation resulting from wanton felling of trees for fuel wood has compromised soil integrity. Cherangani, Kakamega Forest and Mount Elgon water towers have been degraded over the years, resulting to dwindling amount of forest cover. The result, water scarcity and food insecurity. On the 8th of March 2024, KTN News will be hosting the Western Region Climate Action Town Hall meeting at Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. All the stakeholders are invited.
Politics is a game of numbers.
And in Kenya, politics defines the order of the day.
Niwaambie asante sana.
No friendship is permanent, only interests align.
I'm ready, yes, to go for the chairmanship of the African Union.
There's so much happening and so little time to pay attention to all the details.
Indeed, the devil is in the detail.
Join me, Emmanuel Tor, your political man with a front row seat in the world of politics, as I give you the parliament's in-tray and the interviews that matter.
And myself, Jesse Rogers, as I ask the hard questions.
Mimi ni mwanahabari wa michezo. Huu ni mwaka wangu wa 17 katika shirika hili la Standard Group. Tunapenda michezo kwa sababu tunapeperusha bendera ya Kenya kama mabalozi tu. Yaani tunatumia michezo kwa mabalozi sio wa nchi ya Kenya tu bali pia nje ya mipaka. Maana michezo huleta afueni, huleta raha, huleta bashasha, mahanja. Barabara kabisa mpenzi mteule makala asili sana viwanjani. Mjambo na karibu. Kuna kibaridi hapo nje lakini kusema sisi ndisi na hapa ndipo. Mimi ni wako Hassan Juma, mhariri wa michezo Standard Group. Salia papo hapo, KTN News, zilizala viwanjani, Inside Sports, Scoreline. Hapo ndipo mahali
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Western Kenya is one of those regions contending with the devastating effects of climate change. Deforestation resulting from wanton felling of trees for fuel wood has compromised soil integrity. Cherangani, Kakamega Forest and Mount Elgon water towers have been degraded over the years, resulting to dwindling amount of forest cover. The result, water scarcity and food insecurity. On the 8th of March 2024, KTN News will be hosting the Western Region Climate Action Town Hall meeting at Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. All the stakeholders are invited.
Good afternoon and welcome to Africa Speaks. My name is Fateh Mohamed Noor. Today on the program, we'll be talking about the Global Hunger Index launch interview that is supposed to be happening. The theme this year is the power of youth in shaping food systems. In studio, I'm joined on my immediate left, I'm joined by Esther Muriuki. She is a senior research scientist at the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization. Immediately after her is Joel Mutia. He's a young environmentalist and green energy solutions champion from Makueni County. And we also have Caroline Mugo, who is a senior health and nutrition manager concern worldwide. Thank you all for coming to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, I want to start the conversation with Carol right there. I mean, we're talking about the Global Hunger Index. The report is being launched, of course, but what does it entail? What is it all about?
So the Global Hunger Index is an assessment that has been developed to measure the progress of countries towards achievement of the hunger-related indicators for SDG. So it is used to measure the countries, the region, and also the world, trying to see how we are accelerating towards the achievement of the 2030 SDG goals. Thank you.
Talking about the 2030 SDG goals, I want to come to you, Esther. You're a senior research scientist, and when we talk about food systems, how can you really define that, and what does it entail when it comes to even the Global Hunger Index?
Food system is a very wide thing. It has so many aspects, and that is what influences the way food is produced in the country, because right from the farm to fork, or along the food value chain, there's so many things that happens in between there. And if we get right from the beginning, from land to fork, I think a global hunger index, of course, will go down. So as research, what we do, we intervene and look at how we can improve productivity through new methods and technologies of farming. Yes.
Coming to you, Joel, now, I mean, she's talked about the scientific part of it, but as a young environmentalist now, someone who's involved in it, can you tell us the role or your role when it comes to like food systems as a young person?
Okay, when you talk about renewable energy or green energy technology, we are talking about energy forms like biogas, whereby wherever we are utilizing biogas in our households, we can use biogas for lighting, we can use biogas for cooking. Anytime someone is using biogas at the household, they are literally reducing the emission of methane gas into our atmosphere. And you know that methane gas is one of the most, some of the key greenhouse gases that we have. So once we are utilizing biogas in our homesteads, now we are reducing now the effects of climate change through reducing greenhouse gases emission. We have solar energy technology. Solar energy can be used for pumping water for irrigation purposes at our farms. Solar energy can also be used for refrigeration. Solar energy can also be used for solar drying. This can extend the shelf life of fresh vegetables once they have been harvested from the farm. They can be dried under solar dryers, which extends their shelf life and hence increasing their value. That's value addition for them. Yeah, and also we have sustainable charcoal production, because if we are speaking about attaining 10% tree cover by 2030, then we have now to look at our forest cover. We have to look at conserving our tree resources and forest resources. So we cannot go on producing charcoal in traditional methods. We have now improved sustainable methods of producing charcoal that save the environment directly.
Thanks for that. I mean, I want to come back to you before I come to Carol. Esther, regarding with whatever that he's talked about, do you think that young people are on the right path when it comes to ensuring that there's food security in the country?
I think they are. We say when you know better, you do better. And that's why he's focal on what he's saying, because he has come to learn their improved way of doing things. Maybe what we have been looking there before is how you can just, like fulfill what you want to do ASAP, as soon as possible. But now they have looked at other things like improving the firewood into maybe the charcoal that will not emit carbon monoxide. When we were growing up, that was not the case. We were getting that carbon monoxide, and little did we know it was affecting our health. But for the youth and the information that is out there, I think they are better off. They are changing things. Yes.
Right. Caroline, now coming to you, we're talking about a global hunger index, and of course that entails numbers. So is there a way that the global hunger is actually calculated?
Yes, Global Hunger Index is a composite indicator that is measured through combination of 3 indicators. We first of all look at the adequate food intake, so looking at how much people are able to meet their energy requirement per day. And then the second one, we also look at the child undernutrition, issues of wasting. Wasting, when you talk of wasting, is a child who is thin for their age. And then stunting, a child who is thin for their height. And then lastly, child mortality. So child mortalities, we are looking at the number of deaths for children less than 5 years per each 100,000 births. So now those are now aggregated, so we have a score. So we have a score with cutoffs for GHI. Thank you.
How does Kenya compare? How is Kenya faring with regard to the report? What does it say?
So Kenya, we are not doing very well. Currently for this year, we have a score of 22. So by the score, that is serious. And last year we were 23.5, so a marginal reduction. So in terms of now those composite indicators that I've talked about, we are not doing very well. In terms of now the food intake, like last year we just came from a very prolonged drought period that now made people not to have achieved their food intake requirement. And also in terms of child wasting and also child stunting. For child wasting, we are not doing that badly as a country because from the last survey, 2022 KDHS, we were at 5%. So towards where we said we want to achieve by 2025. But when you look at now the region disparities, they're very high. That is now the national. But when you look at some of these counties, like the semi-arid counties, we have very high wasting. So when you look at stunting, we are at 18%, but now a big improvement from the 2014 that was at 25%. So we are kind of moving. When you look at now child mortality, we also improve from the last one. The last one we are at 7. So I would say yes, we are not where we are, yes, but there's slight improvement. So we need to put more effort to ensure we're able to accelerate our achievement towards the 2030 indicators. Thank you.
Of course, more needs to be done according to what you're saying. But Joel, coming to you now as a young person who's engaged in like climate issues, what kind of challenges do you actually face away from opportunities, just challenges specifically?
Okay, the major challenges we are facing, maybe we can highlight on the resources. At times as youth, you have a great idea that you want to work on, but you find that your resources are limited. We also have a challenge of labor, because when you speak about youth, maybe connecting with other youth becomes a challenge because youth are volatile in nature. Like they are here at a moment, the next moment they are not there. So basically that's a challenge because collecting youth to work on one focus and one basis, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, quite a challenge. Yeah.
What about now the opportunities? Let's talk about the positives.
For opportunities, we can begin by speaking of maybe how the government has supported us as youth, because we have platforms that the government has given us. We have affirmative funds that now come in to help youth through the Youth Enterprise Funds. That is, if you have an idea that's great, that's focusing on environment conservation and generally building the country towards achieving the goals that we are talking about, the SDG goals, then you can get funding from the government through the affirmative funding. And then we have NGOs that are coming together to help us achieve those goals too.
Yeah. Esther, with regard to what he said, is there anything specific Caltro is doing to promote young people who are getting into that kind of space?
There's much that is happening in Karo. One, let me say, what we do there is capacity building for the youth, and there's a center that deals with practical training skills. So as Karo is diverse, we are many. So Karo Thika deals with capacity building, and also where I'm based, Karo Kabete, we also do that. We train youth on urban farming. We train youth on ways on which they can earn money. I mean, like, you can engage in some activities that will bring money quickly, other than waiting, because we know youth do not wait. They want quick money. They want something that is enticing. And I think Karo is doing that. The major thing also is the platform that offers information. There is information sharing on our platform. And I think it is helping so many youth out there, because you want to seek for information, you can go to the platform and know what you really wanted for that time. Yes.
Caroline, coming to you now, what is the role of NGOs specifically when it comes to addressing challenges facing young people when it comes to food insecurity?
So NGOs is working with government to ensure at least we improve their food productivity against the backlog of climate change. So working with the system, food system, to ensure we have more high-yielding, climate resilient production, so that now the youth is more attractive, because you know, if they don't get use and money out of it, they're going to be enticed to work in it. Tend to what he's doing and also what Karo is doing, issues of innovation. So for you to have productivity, you need to have more productivity. He talked of one of the challenges as lack of finance, so we're also working with them to see whether we're able to assist them and maybe assess more resources for productivity. Skills enhancement, the same way they are doing, is very important for them to be able to produce. And also finally, the well-being, because you can't produce when you're sick, you can't produce when you don't have education. So work in that space to ensure the well-being of the youth in terms of the education, in terms of food, in terms of agriculture, in terms of water, everything is also a good environment for them to be able to produce. Thank you.
All right, thanks for that. Joel, just coming to you now, do you think, in your opinion, as a young person who's very interested in like environment and green energy solutions, are you well represented as a young person from national level or even county level or national level? Do you feel well represented?
Okay, we have been given platforms because wherever you come to policy making, maybe wherever you come to development of new ideas or new developments that concern now the whole nation as at large, or at the county level, at the grassroots level, we have what we call public participation, which comes hand in hand with now when we are developing any new policy, or maybe when we are moving on towards something else. So public participation basically gives us a platform from the grassroots level as a common mwananchi, if I may say, to now come in and express your voice so that the government can understand you more, so that the government can know your plight at the grassroots level. So the main challenge comes in now that we have given this platform, but most youth don't turn out for the public participation. So their voice remains limited to their grassroots.
Esther, coming to you, do you think there are more young people coming into research? Because I know, sometimes it's a perception research is hard, it's too tough, it's too scientific. Are there people coming into research, especially young people, to understand how the systems work?
I have to appreciate that things are changing, and we are seeing more youth coming for information, and also we are changing the tact. We are becoming more intentional on sensitizing the youth, and especially when they are still young in school, from primary level, secondary and tertiaries. There is a program especially which is done in Biotechnology Center. It is called Science Center Kenya, where youth are brought in, from the primary level. And they are taught, when you capture that mind when it is young, they grow knowing things are not hard. And especially now when you mention genetic engineering, which really is not a topic for now, but now people start understanding what it is, because the name is too big for people to understand. But when it is unraveled, when that child is young, they appreciate. You demystify the myth, and therefore they start now appreciating science. They start now looking at agriculture as a source of livelihood, and also writing it, because when we were in high school, it was a punishment. Today it's not.
Yeah.
It has been demystified.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Just to be a little bit biased, maybe it's International Women's Day of the woman, and yeah. So from your perspective, are there girls coming in, or there's still that perception, you know, that sort of stigma where certain courses are for certain people, mostly men? Are there women and girls coming into research?
On the contrary, I think we have many women, more women than men in research.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Why do you think that's the case? Is it that they've embraced it more now?
One, those who understand agriculture, I mean, they know it's not hard. You get, and I think women have a soft spot for things that are not really tough. So when they come in, they like it. They start understanding even other things that were supposed to be hard. And when you put your hands on, things become easy. Being practical oriented, then you start understanding it. But when you are out there, you really do not understand. So I think getting into there helps things work better. Yes.
Right, for sure. I want us to get into now policy conversation on policies. And Carol, just to start with you, what do you think maybe are the key elements that are needed in policy or politics to make sure that they empowers young people, and even just to make sure that in terms of food security, things are going pretty okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, we need to shift our discussion to realization that food is a right for all, human right-based approach as we are doing the discussion for food system. Because without that discussion, people will not perceive it being as lack of now essential human right to everyone. Secondly, we are talking of now for youth to get attracted to agriculture, as they are all saying, it needs to be productive. So how do we create policies to improve productivity and also climate smart conversation to ensure at least we have resilient, sustainable food systems that can now generate food and also without harming the environment. Secondly, in terms of financing, what do we need to put in place to ensure the youth also have money to invest? As you said, is one of the challenges. Can we look at terms of incentives, the risk in the agriculture, issues of tax waivers and the like? And then I'm really passionate about now malnutrition, because remember, when you talk about now the Global Hunger Index, those composite indicators I talked about, they are all based about malnutrition. So we need to shift the discussion to malnutrition as a policy issue, because now without no reduction of malnutrition cases, it means now we can talk about nutrition security, we can talk for food security. It's very worrying because child nutrition is really has a very negative impact even on the economy of the country, because now when someone doesn't have to is malnourished when they are young, it means they have higher risk of death. So it means you're losing a population. In terms of cognitive abilities is affected. So it means even when they go to school, they're not able to perform well. In terms of even productivity. So it means now when you don't now talk about malnutrition now we are, with the youth we have and the children we have, it means even in future the economic productivity of Kenya, the GDP is going to be affected. So we need also to start now talking about malnutrition as an issue of food security. Thank you.
Joel, coming to you, what do you think needs to be done more when it comes to policy making with regard to, environment and food security?
So when it comes to policy making regarding environment, what can be done basically is these policies can be developed from the grassroots level and given a platform where every single voice, every single innovation that's from the grassroots that's valid or worth looking into, it can now be invested in or vetted and maybe awarded on maybe the basis of merit or equity. It can, we cannot basically look on the merit basis only. So awarding of these ideas to develop them into now fully functional projects can come on that basis of equity, maybe what's needed more and with what is more important.
Esther, I'd want your same opinion on, policy with regard to research, and Calvary is quite heavy when it comes to research, when it comes to scientific research. Any policy that you'd want to see implemented?
Let me first of all appreciate what he has said, that when you are coming up with policies, they should start from the grassroots. Because most of the times that we do things in the boardroom, leaving out the main people, and those are the farmers or people who are active in agriculture. And therefore, we really don't capture what is really necessary in our policies. In research, let me say, we are working in our policies on how we can increase Like now, for example, when we are talking about food security, most people believe it is about growing maize or wheat, but it should be all rounded. So now what research is doing and really working on its policy is making sure that the food crops are biofortified with nutrients. That means the nutrient density is increased. So now the issue of malnutrition, even if now a household is feeding on maize or wheat or beans, there is some nutrients that have been increased in the food crops. And chances of malnutrition and chances probably of obesity because of eating carbohydrates so much can be eliminated. So I know that one is in the policy, and that is what research is working on so hard. Yeah.
Right. Thank you all for the conversation. I think it's been enlightening. We were talking about a global hunger index, focusing on, of course, food and security. And in studio on my immediate left, I was joined by Esther Muriuki. She is the senior research scientist from Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization. We also have Joel Mutia. He's a young environmentalist and green energy solutions champion. And on the far end, we have Caroline Mugo. She is a senior health and nutrition manager from Concern Worldwide. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Right, we're taking a short commercial break here on Africa Speaks, but when we return, we'll be talking about, or rather, there'll be an interview on International Women's Day. Stay tuned for that.
KTN News. Get the whole story.
Sasa ile kwamba nimekosa elimu ndio nikatunga shairi la kwanza kwa ndugu zangu na ulamuke fuirie lwambo eno elimu.
Na mimi ni mwanahabari wa michezo. Huu ni mwaka wangu wa 17 katika shirika hili la Standard Group. Tunapenda michezo kwa sababu tunapeperusha bendera ya Kenya kama mabalozi tu. Yaani tunatumia michezo kuwa mabalozi sio wa nchi ya Kenya tu bali pia nje ya mipaka. Maana michezo huleta afueni, huleta raha, huleta bashasha, mahanja. Barabara kabisa mpenzi mteule makala asili sana viwanjani. Jambo na karibu. Kuna kibaridi hapo nje lakini Naam, tusema sisi ndisi na hapa ndipo. Mimi ni wako Hassan Juma, mhariri wa michezo Standard Group. Salia papo hapo, KTN News, zilizala viwanjani, Inside Sports, Scoreline. Hapo ndipo mahali
KTN News. Get the whole story.
It's International Women's Day today. Of course, every 8th of March, the world marks International Women's Day. And this year, the theme is mostly focusing on inclusion. And in studio, I'm joined by Josephine Mwangi. She's the program manager for International IDEA. We also have Dorothy Otieno. She is the program project coordinator for Femnet. And we also have Catherine Rita Karimi. She's the founder of Upscaling Women Ventures. Ladies, thank you so much for making time today. Of course, it's a very important day for women across the globe, but let's just start with what's your feeling of the day, Josephine? Let's start with you.
Excitement. I feel inspired.
Love
because
it.
I'm now included.
I really like that. That's very nice. What about you, Dorothy?
I feel honored. especially to be a woman in celebrating the Women's Month, entire month, and also the Women's Day.
Fantastic, lovely. What about you?
Yeah, I feel honored also, and it's an important recognition, and for some minutes also for the whole day, women are feeling proud and top of things.
That's pretty lovely. Let's talk about what's currently happening, of course, in the country. Yesterday we saw President William Ruto being part of the G7, that is the Female Governors Strategy launch. The whole idea is to increase the number of governors in the country. So I want us to talk about the role of politics when it comes to enhancing women's rights in the country. Josephine, if we could start with you, what are your thoughts on that?
If you leave out 50% of the population, or more than 50% of the population, as women, you cannot have development. And therefore, we feel that this year's theme on International Women's Day of including women is critical because we recognize that women need to participate, and they need to be included in all spheres of life. So International IDEA has been working on 6 key pillars, and which is political participation and representation, constitution building, climate change, digitalization and democracy, and electoral processes.
Right.
Now, with these pillars, we have a cross-cutting theme on gender inclusion. And with gender inclusion, women at all aspects, considering also that women are not homogeneous. There are different aspects to their lives that we need to include them in all aspects of life, including in political participation.
Which is very important when it comes to leadership, of course, in any country. Your thoughts on that, Dorothy?
Great. For me, it's a progress in the right direction. I think for a long time, we have been stagnating when it comes to matters gender equality and including women in decision making. And when we look at the political bit of it in terms of governance, it's about the decision making. It's about, governing this country into the right direction. And so I'm so proud that, we are having a momentum towards achieving gender equality, and also, really looking at the legal instruments that guides us. It's been like over 13 years now since we promulgated the Constitution that really gave us a clear framework in terms of, inclusive governance, and especially in the appointive and elective positions. And so that has been dwindling, but now I see that there is a lot of momentum, and especially from last year, there has been a lot going on behind the covers, just to see us realizing this particular framework. And so as Femnet, we are really proud of the milestones that we are taking. We are not celebrating entirely because we know it's a journey, but we are really proud of the milestone that everybody is playing, including the male allyship, where the president himself has put himself on the forefront to champion for women's leadership, and especially in the political space where he's committed. Yesterday I saw him committing to support the G7, the 7 governors that we have, and also trying to push and see how we can bring up strategies to increase this number to 16 and even more. I'm looking forward to a 50-50 governor.
It is possible.
Representation.
Definitely.
It is possible.
It's possible.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Catherine, I know you're very keen when it comes to the economic aspect of it, but since we're talking about just politics, maybe in your opinion, what role do you think politics plays in enhancing women's rights in whichever way?
Thank you for this opportunity. The documents have been done, meetings have been held. There are many documents that are gathering dust, but they have not been implemented. For example, I was the associate in the MDGs conference in 06, and all the derivation, all the things that were discussed there, like what leader Josephine mentioned about the 5.5 women announcements. I see little by little, women are being recognized. Not that women are daft. Women are very intelligent. Remember, they are multitaskers. Like, for example, my auntie Anna Rita Karemi was the first woman MP in Meru. I am a Meru. And with cultural beliefs and all the backward cultural beliefs should be done away with. Men should appreciate that women, most women are very intelligent and they are gifted in multitasking. And once a woman is in a position, she'll look in different spheres to uplift people. Yes, and that is why when I was head of public relations at Kenya Bureau of Standards, as a volunteer, I drafted the poverty reduction strategy documents and justified why the Juakali sector should be in the national budget. I am a woman. I was not paid a coin, but I volunteered because I followed my father's advice. He told me, always aspire to be the missing piece in the puzzle.
Fantastic.
That you are part of the solution.
Right. It's very important there. Just picking up from that conversation, coming back to you, Josephine, we know culture plays a very big role. There's a lot of stigmatization, especially in the African community, because it's still patriarchal. Yes. Maybe in your opinion now, what have you seen when it comes to this kind of limitations?
Culture can be both empowering but also limiting. It's really about overcoming the challenges that we see with a cultural belief. So we work very closely with organizations to actually enhance women's participation using the culture, using traditional leaders, using faith leaders, because once they're convinced, they actually become allies. And this is the kind of situation we hope that can pertain in Africa to actually allow women to take positions, political positions, because once you're in power, then you're able to make decision making. You have the decision making power with you, and therefore it leads to development.
Right, for sure. Dorothy, now from your perspective, you work with Femnet, still on the same culture, such a big role. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think as Kenyans, we pride ourselves in the rich culture, but rich culture in a positive way, you know, our togetherness, the way we come together to support our own. But there are those retrogressive cultures that keep on, you know, pushing women to the periphery where they are not able to make decisions. And so decisions are made on their behalf, and also they're looked at as second-class citizens. The cultures that inhibited women from, you know, going to school, where you will be married off, the cultures that, you know, made you as a woman of marriage age, you know, your home would not be, you wouldn't have a voice in your home. Your brothers, younger for that matter, would make a decision on your behalf. The cultures that, you know, still stigmatizes women who are venturing into politics, because you have to be asked whether you're married, that, you know, that marriage is the, you know, SI unit that proves that you are a leader. You know, when you don't have a child, you're looked in a certain way. Yet leadership is just leadership. Leadership doesn't look at your gender. Leadership doesn't look at your race, your tribe. Leadership is just about you being in a position, you know, to govern, to control resources, and be able to make influence in your spaces. And so for me, as Femnet, we really, you know, advocate for cultures that really spearhead women into influencing change and bringing dignity to the woman. And so in the political space, of course, we have a responsibility to even keep on inspiring women to believe in themselves, because the patriarchal society has instilled in women that, you know, you are unable. The man has to do it. The man is the leader. And so we have to keep on encouraging women and inspiring them and telling them, you know, you can do it. You are a leader by all standards. We lead in homes, you know. We have been leading generally. When you talk about multitasking, it's because we have that divine skill to do things simultaneously. But why does it become an issue now when it comes to politics?
Very interesting.
Because at that point is where, you know, all power is vested in politics. Politics comes with power and control and, you know, influence. And that is where now we are told, now you have to sit back. Which should not be the case. I think we have legal frameworks that, you know, doesn't discriminate, that gives us all equal opportunity to make decisions, and we are guided by those frameworks. The 2/3 gender rule is very clear. Our sovereignty as citizens of Kenya doesn't, you know, discriminate us on the basis of sex or, you know, or gender or anything else. But also, as a country, we have signed. We are signatories to some frameworks, legal frameworks, that gives us, you know, the honors to be able to advance and steer sustainable development as a whole, not just as women and as men. Josephine mentioned something about, you know, the population. And women, we are 51%, meaning we are many.
We are more.
And so I think the decision should be more centered on us, because we drive the number. I'll give you an example.
Right.
When a man wants to build a toilet, the main thing will be the structure. But for a woman, I will look at it differently, because I would want to see whether there are sanitation products there. I would want to see whether there is hand washing point in that place. I want to see whether there is a sanitary kit where, you know, someone can use the sanitary. So I will look at it in a different way. And so having women in decision making will bring a different perspective, and I'm happy because the president also acknowledged that there is a credibility that comes with women leadership. And we've seen among the 7 governors, they are doing an amazing job. Despite their economic background, despite their cultural background, they are doing the work. And that is what we are advocating for.
And you're seeing the uniqueness out of it for sure. Catherine, coming to you now, you talked about the challenges a bit later, and you said you've also traveled and you've got some scholarships to learn, and of course that means you've been exposed differently. What things have you picked, and how has that inspired you and other girls to be in the position that you're in now?
Thank you. Actually, I'll start it from me having the guts to walk out of an abusive marriage.
Right.
I'm a mother of 3 daughters, and they are doing marvelously in their professions. All of them, one is an international chef, the others have double, degrees and all that. Yeah. But the reason why I walked out is because I didn't want my girls to grow up knowing that a woman has to be abused, accepting. Now, why most women steer away from politics is because of what we have mentioned about the cultural beliefs, and again, intimidation from men who are contesting, intimidation. Like, for example, you remember Flora Taylor, the one who was mistreated in Meru? She was a class behind me, and she lives now in Canada. Now, as I told you, my auntie was the first woman MP in Meru, but she didn't last even a term because she was attacked by so many people with people corrupted guys to put case against her, and she was hosted out. Yeah. And now when I talk about intimidation, I've my contribution to my country is because I had the guts to walk out of an abusive marriage. And so the things which I've done, I have done because I walked out of that situation. When women are given the freedom to think and operate, they can excel, they can go beyond. Yeah? And that is one thing. When the PS of Commerce was there, when I told her, I made a presentation on behalf of Juakali, and she's like, I know you look familiar. Where have I seen you? I told you, I'm head of public relations at Bureau of Standards, and what are you doing with Juakali? I'm helping them. Do you know what she told me? I wish you had 5 women like you.
Interesting.
She gave me a note to be the trade liaison officer in UK, but because I had not healed from that marriage, I had gone through depression and counseling. Because I had not healed, I didn't find myself fit to take such a position. So I let it go. So what I'm trying to say is that women given a free operating space, they can break the imaginary glass ceilings. Women are performers. A woman, like that time I was talking, I'm quite advanced. I'm 60 years. So at that time, the PS was Margaret Givenchy, and she was interviewed and asked, how do you run your ministry? She says, I run it like the way I run my kitchen. This goes here, this goes here, this goes here, and everybody is catered for. After all, why do we say mother tongue? Because even food is the mother who tastes to check whether the flavor is good.
Interesting perspective.
Yes. And then mother tongue. Who teaches the child to speak is the woman.
Of course.
So women with their brains, impressive brains, and commitment and love for all, to see that everybody has been catered for. Yeah? That is why a woman should be a deputy president, because you'll take care of what is being overlooked by the president. Not in a negative way, but because he's a man, he thinks as a man. And a woman is all inclusive.
Right.
Yes.
Thanks for that. I mean, I want to come back to Josephine now and talk about, you know, we're talking about what is being done or what should be done, and things are getting better, but the progress is slow, right?
Yes.
What's the problem?
Let's start with a few statistics. The International IDEA is working with these 6 consortium partners, including Femnet, in 8 African countries. And one of the things that we do in programming is we come from an evidence-based perspective. So one of our key flagships is the Barometer on Women's Political Participation. So we have done this barometer in 2011, 2021, and it showed that we only had 24% of parliamentarians in the continent as women. In 2023, over 30 elections later, we have 25%.
Just 1% up.
1% up. So there is progress, which we must celebrate. There is progress, but progress is very slow. So if we're talking about coming to 30% or 50% and meeting the SDG goals, goal number 5.5, it will take us decades to actually get there. So what are these challenges that we must overcome as a country? A few include legislation, getting quotas, political parties, electoral management bodies, and how they treat women. And it depends on which demography you are in of a woman. Are you a rural woman? Are you a woman with disability? Are you an urban woman? And how the institutions as well as the policy respond. So we're working in Kenya with Femnet, so I will let Femnet talk about some of the
Tell us,
issues.
Dorothy, some of those.
Great. So the enhancing the inclusion of women in political participation, the project that we are partnering with International IDEA is a very rich project. The aim is to increase the quality and quantity of women in political leadership. I was very categorical to mention the quantity and the quality. Of course, when you talk about the quality, the quantity is about the numbers, which, you know, the 2/3 is also bringing on board the issue of gender parity. But again, the quality. As I said, we are coming from a patriarchal society. The level playground is not, it's not level for women to get into politics. And so they have to, there is a lot of challenge for them to get into this space. And so we've come up with different interventions that would then enhance more women getting into politics. And some of them include the knowledge products development, like she's mentioned about the barometer that we are launching today in the afternoon. So barometer just give a perspective of where are we in Africa in terms of women political participation, the African countries. We did one in 2021, and now it has been updated because many countries have gone into election, just to see the trajectory. How are we doing? We also develop a lot of resource materials, the training manuals, the guidelines, media guidelines on reporting on women political participations. Those are some of the resource materials that we're coming up. We started with providing situational analysis to see where are we before even we started the project. And then we also do capacity strengthening for women. We're not calling it capacity building because we know women have the capacity. She's said, she's been leading, and we've been leading, even in the kitchen, we've been leading. And give a woman any role, they will lead it. As long as you give them the a fair environment and the required resources, we will be able to lead. And so we are doing, academies to train women and to upskill them and retool them with the prerequisites, skills to be able to effectively and efficiently be able to lead. We are also doing a lot of advocacy, policy advocacy, because we are guided by the legal frameworks. Right now, the 2/3 gender rule is one of the issues that, the country is really focusing on. And so we are there looking at the NADCO report, any decision-making space, where the place of women. And, for us as a civil society, we have the responsibility to keep governments accountable. And so we have to keep them on check, despite the promises. And we know sometimes promises are so many. Today I'm waiting for the promise to us as women today on International Women's Day. But also to see, are these promises just to woodwink us or just to make us feel good and then it fades away? Or are these promises really their commitments towards them? So that is very key for us as policymakers. When we launched, when we were commemorating Maputo at 20 years last year, which was hosted here in Nairobi, we were taking stock and seeing, you know, Kenya, after ratifying this very important protocol, you know, it's the only protocol, a very progressive one, that talks on the rights of African women and girls. Because like she said, our issues are so homogeneous, different demographics. When you talk about the issues of African women, it is different from probably the global north, and so even at the Commission of the Status of Women, and I know everybody is now preparing to go to New York now, that is the conference that brings all of us together, we find that African women go there at a disadvantaged point. Number one, being in that space is expensive for African women and girls. Number two, the issues of visa. Not everybody gets visa to go to New York. The cost of going to New York is another thing. The weather in New York right now is another thing. So how can women, can we advance their capacity to be able to still address the issues in their own influence spaces? And as Femnet, we came up with a very innovative policy advocacy space where we were calling it Disrupt CSW, to talk about our issues now in the African context. And we have been advocating for CSW to be rotated, you know, not just not to be placed in New York, but it be rotated so that we also have an ownership, because when it is hosted in Africa, African women will feel, you know, this is our thing, and it will go to Asia and, you know, rotation. And so we started in Nairobi, went to Malawi, and last week we were in Cameroon, just because we also want to be at the forefront of not just promising, but doing it at the forefront. So apart from capacity building, we also do peer-to-peer learnings for women. We bring them together as a regional organization. We bring women together. Right now, Tanzania will tell you a different story about women leadership. Of course, having the woman president has shifted their perspective about women leadership. And sometimes it is good for us to be in that space to learn what is it that is happening in Tanzania that we can borrow. And of course, them also coming to Kenya, you know, bringing them in a regional space where we can share experiences and learn a thing or two on enhancing women political participation. So we do a lot, but the main thing is to ensure that the women who are in decision making, the leaders that we have, they are qualified, they are competent, and they're able to influence change.
100%.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Because we only have 2 minutes to go, Catherine, now away from politics, just a bit, tell us about the economic you know, ventures that you're getting into with your organization and how you're uplifting women, briefly in 2 minutes.
Wow, it's like I knew I'd already opened my page. Actually, I looked at, because I have my paper which I'll share with you, what the contribution in the economic evolution of my country, and I've earned recognitions in different aspects. Now, I attended the Future She at the Sagana Getaway in 2021, organized by the government of Israel, or government of Netherlands, sorry. And that is where the idea of setting up this NGO was, because women are lacking in doing, operating at their optimal, because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the capacity, they need to know why they need to delegate, why they need to have to pay their taxes, to be responsible, to pay, to do all these things which will make them have a level playing ground with other business partners. And in upscaling women ventures, what our objectives are to get loans with negotiated low interest for women to upscale their businesses, capacity building and training, languages, skills, bookkeeping, computer lessons, digital marketing, branding, taxation, all that. And then benchmarking and study tours regionally and internationally, to learn our export and import business, quality products and all that.
I think that's very important, with what you've highlighted. And because of time, I might have to cut you short, but I think we understand what you've talked about in terms of making sure that even in the socio-economic space,
yes,
the women need to be there. But I really appreciate your
20 seconds, please.
Yes,
I
please,
was
kindly.
very excited when the 7 women governors were elected. I was very excited, and when I had a discussion about my objectives and what I'm planning to do with my NGO, I had a meeting with the government officials, and they told me, you know what, you have a niche, and you should have an office in every county.
Fantastic. Very nice comment. Thank you so much. That is Catherine Rita Karimi. She's the founder of Upscaling Women Ventures. We also had, or rather have, Dorothy Otieno. She is the project coordinator, Femnet. Of course, just told us what they do. And on my immediate left is Josephine Mwangi. She's the program manager of International IDEA. Thank you both. Thank you all for making time for us today.
Thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day.
Right, happy International Women's Day. Thank you so much for the conversation. Remember, today is the International Women's Day. The theme this year is Investing in Women, Accelerate Progress. Thank you for watching.
KTN News.